Good evening, everyone. So, is my voice audible now? No. Okay. Um, First disclosure: this is the first time that I am moderating a panel event. So, uh, I'm going to ask you to go easy on me. Let me start with a very brief intro about everybody here. I'm just going to talk about them as a person and give them 30 seconds to talk about their ventures. So, starting first with Akshay. There's Akshay. So Akshay is a product of Ivy League institutes in the US, both Harvard and Wharton, after which he did a stint in management consulting. Post that, he started his first entrepreneurial venture, which was a stock exchange that eventually got acquired by the BSE. Then he did another stint with Amazon, and as of now, he is the founder of ShipRocket, the co-founder of ShipRocket. Akshay, just 30 seconds about your venture.
Akshay, again, my namesake, thank you for the kind introduction. So very happy to talk about ShipRocket. We're a logistics aggregation platform and a fulfillment partner for SMEs across India. And in a nutshell, what we try to do is for anyone who's selling directly to consumers, whether it's on Facebook, WhatsApp, or on their own website, we help give them an Amazon Prime-like experience so that you can deliver your products within 1 to 2 days to your consumers. You can have a great consumer experience. That's what we aim to do, is to bring excellent consumer experience to SMEs in India.
Thanks, Akshay. Now coming to the only person in the panel who has his own Wikipedia page, probably one of the very few people in the room with his own Wikipedia page is Bijay. Bijay did his education from JNU and ISP, after which he joined Jet Airways, where he was heading their loyalty program. He started Loyalty Rewards and exited from Loyalty Rewards in 2017 at a valuation of about $100 million. So a very rare breed of entrepreneur who gave a multi-bagger return to his investors. And currently, Bijoy is the founder of Home. Bijoy, tell us about Home.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the interesting intro, Akshay. Home Technology, this is my second venture. My first venture was a B2B services business based out of India. And that went well, and we're trying to now do something which is very innovative. It's a consumer tech product business, essentially introducing a concept called private ownership on the internet. Something very similar to how in the physical world, all of us, everybody in this room, end of the day after finishing all of this will go back home. So each person has a private space in this world, which is what we call home. Similarly, on the internet, we go to various different places, put our data in various different places, but there isn't a place any individual actually owns as his own private place on the internet. Something similar to a digital home. It's an innovative concept, and it's not something which is easy to wrap your head around on the first instance, but we're trying to create something like that which people can use to keep all their digital assets and keep a private place. So it's a tough one, but interesting, trying to build something which is new and disruptive.
Thanks, Vijay. So coming to Dipanjan. Dipanjan is a product of SP Jain, after which he did multiple stints in the BFSI sector. His last stint was with Tech Mahindra, where he was heading the BFSI sector globally and was responsible for a pivot towards products instead of services at Tech Mahindra. So based on that experience, he became a serial entrepreneur and investor in startups which are product focused. His current venture is called HyperExchange. Dipanjan.
Thanks, Akshay. HyperExchange is one of the largest marketplaces for pre-owned electronics in India today. In addition, so that's growing fast. Market's growing at a sizzling pace. It's for people that don't know, it's a $25 billion market growing at 40% CAGR. HyperExchange is growing slightly faster than the market. But what's unique for HyperExchange is that it has its own IP product called the Faraday, which is the world's first evaluation platform for devices. So you just pop your devices in, and it actually gives a valuation and every kind of detail and challenges with what the device is. We own 3 patents on it. We're getting some more patents, and the product basically is application both on the B2B and the B2C side. We have a retail front as well as a B2B backend where we discuss with large procurement players and essentially are evolving as a significant market maker in this space globally.
Thank you, Dipanjan. Now, coming to Manjeet Singh. So Manjeet has had a very unique entry into the world of technology. He trained to be a marine engineer, joined the merchant navy and decided it was not for him, and became a self-taught software engineer. His venture is called Buddy for Study. Before this venture, he had a software services company which he successfully sold. Manjeet, tell us about Buddy for Study.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. So, Buddy for Study is India's largest student financial aid platform. So, on one side, so we have sources of funds, and the other side, so we have students. So, currently, we are working with corporate CSR and HR partners. So, currently, we are working with about 100 customers, including L'Oreal, Fair and Lovely, HUL, Tata Trust, Colgate, HP. In almost 3 countries, and we have a student base of close to about 3 million registered students on the platform. In 3.5 years, so our student base organic traffic has grown almost from few hundred users currently to about 80 to 85,000 students per day. And in the last 3 years, so we have helped close to about 85,000 students, and we have disbursed a fund of close to about 93 crores.
Thanks, Manjeet. And last but not the least is Neha, the only woman entrepreneur on stage. So Neha and her husband are products of AMU. Neha was in the software field and her husband was in the hardware field, which actually makes it a pretty complementary marriage. They are, of course, co-founders and life partners, which I think is really great. So after a personal medical emergency in the family, they realized the need for better health devices, and which is what led to the foundation of Agastya. Neha, tell us about Agastya.
Thanks, Akshay. Hi, everyone. So at Agastya, we are solving the problem of early detection and regular monitoring of non-communicable diseases. And the first product that is there in the market, which is our own innovation, is Sanket Live, which is there to monitor cardiac diseases. So it's a pocket size, in fact, a car keychain size ECG device, which can be used by anyone, anytime, anywhere. And it just takes a medical grade ECG. So it's basically a hospital ECG miniaturized into a car keychain sized device. And we are basically connecting cardiologists with the patients at home so that an early detection can be done and many lives can be saved. Thank you.
Thanks, Neha. So we have a pretty interesting panel with 2 people from hardware product background and the other 3 from tech product backgrounds. So before I start this discussion, I'd just like to ask all of you audience members about your views on something which Bijay said yesterday. I did a pre-event call with him, and he told me that in the last 10 years, globally, there has been no major technological innovation. How many of you agree with Bijay that last 10 years, there's been no major technological innovation globally? Globally, across the world, no major tech innovation in the last 10 years. Do you agree with this? Okay, very few. So, Bijay, would you like to justify why you made the statement?
That's definitely not a good start. It's like nobody, no hands. But basically, you know, the thought is that every global technology product that all of us use every day, starting from Google to Facebook to Uber to WhatsApp to everything that we use, and I'm talking about things of scale. Any product that has been used by at least 1 billion people. There are plenty of them today in our lives, but none of them are less than 10 years old. You might actually be surprised. Uber is more than 10 years old. Airbnb is more than 10 years old. Blockchain is more than 10 years old. Bitcoin is more than 10 years old. You tell me, I mean, you guys didn't put your hands up, but you tell me what has come up which is disruptive, which has made an impact globally, and it is less than 10 years old.
Would any other panel
Ola
member
or
like
Uber or Amazon or Flipkart or Paytm. Paytm is still limited to Indian scene, but I'm saying India or global. Even in our everyday life, pull out your phone and see what are the apps that you're using.
So would any of the panel members like to respond to Bijay? Yeah, Neha, please.
So I heard, I think Nikhil was speaking just some time back, and he said that for disruption to happen, you need to think 10 years ahead. So you cannot think regarding a problem which is like 2 years from now or which is the current problem and think that a disruption would happen. So to think 10 years ahead, obviously it will take 10 years to reach there. And I think because I'm into medtech industry and I have been seeing the technology advancements and innovations happening, and especially in India, that I am very well, I can assure you that in 10 years from now, there will be disruption. They are solving real problems.
Let me hear from Dipanjan also. I'm sorry I'm cutting you short, but our time is pretty limited.
I think I would respectively disagree. I think that's a very sensationalist headline, though, so it's got us all talking about it. But I think if you look at segments like retail, where IoT and AI mixed together has seen fantastic development. So I'm not going to say innovation is not just core IP, right? Innovation is also how you utilize IP in real life applications. So if you see retail points like Amazon Go, I don't know if any of you have experienced that in the US. It's not in India yet, but you can essentially shop without anybody helping you, and you walk out, you don't even go through a checkout counter. So that's one very simple one. There are very large ones. People like Elon Musk sending people to Mars and planning to do that in the next 7 years is definitely walking the talk on innovation, right? When somebody like Elon Musk makes that statement, that makes sense. Smaller players, obviously, she's too humble to mention it herself, but the fact that an Indian startup is creating an ECG machine that is portable and can be utilized is a fantastic innovation. We talk about our Faraday, right? It's something that was staring the industry in the face for the last 20 years or so. Nobody developed it. We went and did it, and today we are selling it to large American telcos. Innovation, right? So I think there's a lot of elements that's happening that is innovative, a lot of products out there. MedTech specifically, retail a lot. Some in electronics, but I think there's a lot of innovation. So sorry to disagree there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you?
Okay. In the interest of time, I'm going to move on and I'll ask Manjeet and Akshay to contribute for the next question. Again, I'm going to start my next question by asking you guys for what you think about it. Again, during our discussions yesterday with the various panel members, someone said that Indian companies are good at copying what the West is doing, but they are not good at creating innovative breakthrough products. So what do you guys think? Again, a show of hands if you agree that Indians are good at copying. Okay, very, very minority opinion over here. But Akshay, what do you think about this?
So again, this is a topic that I'm fairly passionate about because I think the word copying is very broadly used for many different things, right? So let me talk to you briefly about my experience. So we're a shipping aggregation platform. We aggregate logistics partners across India and make them available to SMEs. So when we started this concept 4 years ago, no one was actually doing it. Everyone was doing only tech, because we did a tech plus services platform where we used to take care of the logistics end to end, right? And in the US, everyone was doing tech only because that's the way to scale. 4 years from now, most of my contemporaries in the US are doing tech plus services. Does that mean they're copying me? No, it doesn't, right? It's what works. And I think if you find an idea that works, so for example, you have an Airbnb which started off in the US, you have an Uber that started out in the US, right? And Ola in India, are they just copying Uber? They've taken, yes, absolutely a lot of inspiration from Uber, but if you think they could just copy paste an idea and execute it to a multi-billion-dollar company in India, it doesn't happen. You have to innovate. You have to be able to work with the idiosyncrasies of the Indian market. Indian drivers, Indian consumers, the lack of loyalty in Indian consumers. There's a lot of work that you have to do. So it's very easy to say that a lot of startups in India are copying, but essentially that idea or that inspiration, when it executes into a full-fledged business, looks very little like what initially it started off as.
And Manjeet, what do you think about this?
I think I completely agree with him. So I like the word inspiration. And honestly, what I believe in is idea, if you talk about, is only the 5% of the value. The real thing, 95% is the execution. So when I was running my last startup, it was corporate education. And I had that idea of this online learning, the entire platform for online learning. and we were doing classroom training. So I had that idea for a very long time. We tried doing the execution, but we are not able to do it successfully. So I think that's where when you get into the execution and when you have different geographies, so there are a lot of nuisances that comes with different geographies. So execution, I would say, is the very important key element, and then maybe taking that inspiration and then making sure that it works in that specific geography with those nuisances is the real innovation that happens with that idea.
Vijay, you had pretty strong views on this, so I'm going to come to you again.
I'm itching to say this.
Yeah.
I'm saying zero. I'm disagreeing with, let's not be all nice and good to each other. Actually, zero. India is supposed to be a technology powerhouse of the world. India has not created a single breakthrough global technology product. Starting from Google to Facebook to Amazon to Twitter to Snapchat to Instagram to whatever else that all of us use. It's all come from outside India. India has never given the world a product, a global product used by more than 1 billion people, to define it so. I've heard all these interesting words like inspiration, we can call it enhancement. Uber start from a line called mobility solution. And from there to evolve and go through a process of creating a product which eventually sees a small app where a car coming. That's innovation. And then the world likes it so much that the whole world starts using it. Or something like Google Map, where each one of us use every day. Taking an Uber and creating an Ola is an extremely hard thing to do. I agree with execution. I've ran an organization for 10 years, built it to scale, got acquired, and Khoon Pasina actually. It's very hard. But that's not called creating something new. India has not given the world a single product so far.
Dipanjan, do you agree with this? Okay, we'll open up for audience questions. Give us a few
I think the numbers speak for themselves, so I'm not going to completely disagree with what Vijay is saying, but see where this is, right? Let's look at numbers, right? Since we're talking about numbers. Around $70 billion was this last year's investments globally by venture funds in deep tech products. Out of that, $2.2 billion was in India. And that might seem like a small number to you. Understand that 2 years before, that number was under $150 million. Okay? So there is clearly an increasing focus on product. So whatever historically has happened is not important. What we are doing now is what's interesting. $2.2 billion. Of course, if you look at the number a little deeper, you realize that 40% of that is actually going to Series B and later companies, which means these are companies that are building products to enhance or entrench their existing businesses. And around another 30 to 40% is going to corporates. So PE funds and all that. So I'm including that in the venture. So only around 10% is coming to early stage companies that are building deep tech. I think there's a lot of the funding community present today here. I'm not sure if they're still here, or I did see a few in the last session. I think it's a message to the industry that we need to start encouraging these early stage product companies to succeed. And it needs a lot of belief. It needs a lot of perseverance. But if we don't do it, we're going to end up where Vijay, I think, with a very dystopian future is painting on that. We're going to end up there. But I think I see hope. Because I see I work with startups across, apart from being a startup myself, I'm also an angel investor on some platforms. And I see startups talking about products now. So I think there's a positive future here.
All right. So there's a screen out there which says time up, big orange screen. Most of you can't see that. But ma'am there had a question. Let me just end with that. Yes, ma'am.
Which we had no backers. Nobody funded.
Can you start from the beginning? We
Yeah.
couldn't hear you.
Okay. So, as I said, I beg to differ that there has been no product company. I was the product manager for a product that won international award, was used by 10 Fortune 500 companies, was used, some of the award-winning project executions for billion-dollar smelter plants used the technology. It was an object-oriented design development system. And, but there was no company to fund the operations. We just ran out of money just because that there was nobody coming forward to fund it. And I'm talking about 92. From 92 to 96, 97, we really struggled to really keep alive, but then we had to kind of. But the product was bought over by Deloitte, and it is being used as a consulting platform till date.
So which is
So
also
this is, you can say that it was, it's that there is no support available from the investor community for technology products. And I take a lot of pride that I have been helping product entrepreneurs to develop products. And there are 4 products that I have taken global.
so which
and-
is also what Dipanjan is saying.
So there are
that-
4 products. SMS Gyan actually rode on Airtel's this thing, which is a mobile internet on mobile search engine, which went global. Vinod Khosla kind of a person invested in him, and I take a lot of pride that I
So,
actually pushed
ma'am,
him to do that.
So maybe you
So
could
the-
connect with the panel.
I just
There
want
are-
to say one thing, very respectful of what you are saying.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we are not smart or we don't try. I'm just saying historically the product that you made, it's very unfortunate that large PE fund didn't come and bankroll you with $100 million, and then that went on to be used by a
So
billion
nobody
people.
will fund, nobody from outside is going to fund an Indian product.
It's
and take,
unfortunate.
let the,
Maybe that's the reason why we haven't yet given the world a product.
yeah, so we
So I think
need to
there's-
really build
Ma'am,
Indian
I would like to
community
make
to
a
really.
point. I would like to make a point. We have Zoho also,
Yeah,
which is
I was
an
just about
Indian
to say
product
that.
going global. And I think products do not become global on day one. So we talk about Facebook, WhatsApp, and Uber and everything. They took their own sweet time, and then they went out and they made their mark. So India has, I mean, it's starting with its startup thing recently, and I think more products are definitely going to come up, and they're going to go global.
So is Zoho really an innovation or a copycat?
No, I
That's
think,
also a
so
question.
It's a product, and
Let's call it
has
enhancement.
gone.
It's
It's
a-
not a
no, no.
copycat, but yeah, it's there in its own way. It's an innovation
I
which
think
has
the
gone
fact
beyond.
that Mark Benioff has been trying to buy Zoho for the last 10 years is a testament to the fact that it's not a copycat product anymore. So we can keep saying that a lot of what Salesforce does comes from Microsoft Dynamics. That story is just a cyclic story, right? The fact is that by the way, ma'am, it's a bootstrap product. Nobody funded, and in fact, Sridhar didn't even ask for funding. Fantastic example. But there are more. I mean, look at iFlex. Nobody remembers iFlex today, but iFlex financial products are used in every financial services company in the world today. So again, it's not a Google. It's a B2B product. But there are examples. Sure, it might be statistically insignificant compared to what US has, but we are catching up now. I think as long as there's focus, there's hope.
So before we get kicked out,
Yeah. Corruption.
Sir, I am VPO awarded inventor. Sir, even our Sam Petroda was filing bogus patents. This is a very big tragedy. You know, our IITs, they are filing bogus patents. This is very big. In CSIR, they have not created a single product, and they are spending billions of dollars, and we are giving big, bogus awards, We are giving, there are hundreds of events all over India.
It's
And
unfortunate.
we are giving, sometimes, you can say, dismantled products, they will improve it and, they will claim that it's an invention. Such kind of things are happening.
Actually, can I just take
Yeah,
45 seconds on this? Somebody used the word dystopian here. Sensational as it might be, I'll make another dystopian statement for us to just think about it, right? Internet plays a very important role in everybody's lives today. Humor me for a second. I'm just asking, what is internet? Internet is, end of the day, a whole bunch of servers connected to each other. And on these servers lie a lot of data which we access, we create, we ping each other, send pictures to each other. They're all broken down to bits and bytes lying on servers connected to each other, and that's internet. What if I tell you that all the servers connected to the internet put together and all the data that is lying cumulatively on the internet, 99% of all data on the internet are lying on servers controlled by just 2 organizations in this world. I'll repeat, 99% of all data on the internet are lying on servers owned by just 2 organizations in this world.
Which two?
You can do the math. You can do the math. So, you know, it's this one thing to be deeply submerged in tech like all of us and use technology saying, hey, I'll be there in 23.5 minutes because Google Maps, and then you Twitter something and you email something, connected totally. But it's also another thing to draw back a little bit and look at the picture, what's going on here, and where is this going? Maybe some corrections are required and some real technology innovations are required. If you guys do the math, you'll actually be surprised that it's more than 99%.
Yeah, my question is specific to Vijay. I request you to react to this. When we are talking about product companies from India, specifically ma'am mentioned about Zoho. There is another product company in India, probably we could not remember all, but it is part of our life. And it is being used by billions of people. That is Tally. And that is also not funded at all. It is all, nobody has really taken any stake. So what do you think? I mean, Tally, when it was started, it was definitely an innovation, and still, nobody has cracked it.
So, huge respect. I'm in your side. We are all on the same side. I'm an Indian, and I love this country. And I'm not saying that we are not good at tech. I beg your pardon, but I actually meant by saying global technology product is consumer end product. End product used by consumer. Tally is not, or Zoho is not. End consumer used product. Uber is, Airbnb is, Google is, Facebook is, Twitter is, LinkedIn is, Snapchat is. End consumer used product, more than 1 billion. I can sit here and count few of them just from Google's house. Multiple products used by more than 1 billion people, end consumers used products. India's never created one. And I'm on your side. I wish we did. And we are a very strong technology powerhouse. Maybe environment, maybe VC support, maybe the innovation spirit. Just last thing, Jack Welch, in one of the recent interviews said, it's all my mistake. I could have made India a product company instead of a services company. This whole technology services started off with GE coming into India and using India as the back office. And Jack said that I took the call to place services in India. I could have chosen to create some tech product labs in India, and Indian technology ecosystem's character might have been different. Maybe yes.
No, I think the points are great, and the questions, obviously, it's very polarizing. But the comment, I mean, obviously there's truth. But I think if you see China, there are multiple, I'm not saying, again, we'll emulate what China does, but there are learnings there. I mean, one is obviously they closed off their product ecosystem to global products, and hence were able to create multi-billion-dollar players in the local product. But the way that India uses products, the way India works around its life is different from how US does it. So while emulation of China is not the right answer, emulation of the product strategy of how products have evolved in America is not going to help us. For example, if you look at the B2B side, America, the resources are very expensive. Human resources are very expensive. As a result, all of their product innovation focus towards automation. However, in India, that's not the case. Which means in India, we have a large population of people, but they're not people that are either very high on the level of sophistication of education or activities. Which means you need to smarten up these people in the absence of any more politically correct word, smarten up this workforce with products that augment their productivity, not replace it. So if you create products that basically are like America, which replaces people with robots or kiosks and stuff, I don't think that's the innovation India needs. We need our kind of innovation and our kind of products that supplies our country first. And if we are able to do that, fulfill that demand, I think we'll be able to create a world-class product also, by default.
On that note, I want to thank everyone in the panel. Please give them a big hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was your panel, Mr. Gulati, Mr. Jayarajan, Mr. Singh, Mr. Satogi. Mr. Dutt, can I please request you to hand over our token of appreciation to the panel out here on the dais? Mr. Purkayast as well.